Hey, what is up, everyone? It is Rich. All right, we are going to look at Stuart Immonen today. This is exciting. So this is a continuation of the live stream from Sunday. I I'm a completist and a little bit of a perfectionist in my life, and if there's loose ends, I don't like loose ends. So there was three picks of the 20 that I had not selected, but that were picked randomly for the Sunday spotlight. But it went so long, we were creeping up on 3 hours, that I decided that what I would do is the three artists that we didn't hit that were recommended by viewers. In fact, this one was recommended by Mr. Laz, who Laz Novak is real. He contributes a lot to the live streams chatting. So Laz, this is for you. And for all of us, I absolutely love Stuart Immonen's work. In fact, we're going to go full screen right now and just get right into it. So Stuart is amazing. He's got very, very dynamic art. He's really incredible with poses. This is more of a standing there like triple gatefold kind of cover image. So he's not flexing all of those skills right now, but really beautiful work. He's really kind of a treasure in comics. He was one person that when I started doing sequentials, that I was looking at him and I was looking at Roger Ibanez of all people. It sounds funny when you see the work that I did, but honestly, those were the only two besides J. Scott Campbell that I was really looking at. And Stuart was so far beyond what I could really achieve with my drawings in terms of figure work and stuff like that. And so I could only really look at it and admire it. There wasn't a lot that I could really get from it other than maybe some of the simplification. But his stuff is far from simple. And in fact, these really good artists make it look easy. So this is another sort of thing. I grabbed these, I think, mostly just from Yandex image search, which is like Google. If you followed my channel for a while, you'll know that I refer to Yandex. Be a little careful when you surf there, just because it's a Russian site. I get warnings on some of the JPEGs that I download, but I'm a rebel. I'm you got to do what you got to do for the YouTube. So far, so good. I've got malware bytes. If all else fails, I can run that and see what's going on. If Russian spies are checking up on my Blaster Kid pages. Speaking of Blaster Kid, make sure that you've signed up for the pre-launch page. Things are going to get very, very active here in the next couple of weeks. I've got a lot of stuff going on, and it should be exciting. But anyway, this is a beautiful, beautiful piece. I mean, one thing that Stuart does that's kind of exciting is he takes some of the cool factor that Adam Hughes has developed over the years, injects it into his work, but Stuart doesn't really, like, he's not a one-for-one Adam Hughes sort of style, so you get these really beautiful techniques that Adam might use on his work, but with Stuart, because he does mainly sequential work, it's fun to see those muscles flexed on pages. Look at this. I honestly, when this came up, when on the search, I was like, is this Coipel? It says Immonen, but it's kind of got a little bit of the Coipel thing, which, I would say there's this chain of events that happened in the 90s, late 90s with Travis. Travis influenced Lanil Yu, Travis influenced Steve McNiven, Travis influenced Jimmy Chung. A lot of people were heavily, heavily impressed by what Travis was up to, and Coipel developed it in his own thing. Lanil Yu developed it in his own thing. But those influences still kind of move through comics in certain genres of comics. And this, to me, doesn't look like Travis-y, but it looks like Coipel or Lanil Yu when they were kind of doing their techniques that are somewhat inspired by Travis. So it's pretty interesting how it all kind of filtered through. It's an exciting thing to see, this is great. A lot of times, I think Stuart uses Wade von Grobadger. I hope I'm saying his name right. I'm pretty sure that's his main inker, but maybe he uses multiple people. He's been getting some beautiful, beautiful colors too. This is great. But yeah, Stuart is so good. I know that Kelsey is a big fan of Stuart too. It's hard not to be. Man, look at this shit. it's so solid and just so clear. Zoom back in. There's not a lot of fuss and muss. It's you know, this is a quite detailed piece. In color, it would actually look more simple. But man, he's got all kinds of great stuff. There's like monsters climbing on the buildings, got people like cars burning, and all kinds of crazy stuff. More monsters over here. Got the it looks like the Thing carrying a bus, or he's about to chuck a bus at this monster. It's very very kick ass. The Spider-Man pose is awesome too. He did. I hope it's in here. I saw a Spider-Man pose that he did. I thought was one of the most interesting Spider-Man poses that I had seen in a long time. I hope it's in here. I'm nearly sure it was Stuart when I was looking for stuff on Sunday. This is nice. This is a great cover, actually. Man, it's cool. It's one thing I was kind of trying to study a few weeks ago is a comic book's cover design and how different people approach laying out covers. There's so many ways you could do it. But for me, for some reason, a comic book page feels quite narrow. I think that in my mind, when I imagine images, a lot of times I think a little tiny bit more widescreen. So when I have to draw an 11 by 17 board, I always feel like I'm like in this very narrow image. So it sometimes makes the ideas that I have not work because I'm thinking more like a widescreen shot. Guess you could do a double page spread or a wraparound cover, but that doesn't work for everything. And then also wraparound covers sometimes, you know what I mean? Like it's like the front is cool and the back is kind of like, doesn't have to be, but this is cool. Stuart's done a lot of great books. Next Wave, it'd be hard for me to name them all right off the top of my head. I wasn't really gonna go through his bibliography, but you could search him and find all kinds of stuff. The first thing that he did for DC that I saw was, I think, a Superman book, a different style kind of than this, but I had known his work from before that. And I can't remember what he did before that, but I was already a fan, and the Superman book actually felt like him kind of drifting away from what I initially had liked about his stuff a little bit. It was starting to get a little more kind of it felt a little more conservative. But then he kind of ramped it up when he started doing Next Wave. Next Wave was much more cartoony and a different style. And from there, he's just gone and gotten better and better and better. It's funny because his hands sometimes remind me a little tiny bit of Carlos Pacheco hands. Not all of them, but some. This wasn't the Spider-Man pose I was talking about. Like I said, I'll point it out if I see it. This is great, though. Really, really cool buildings. I love the design. They're interesting. They're not just boring rectangles. There's a couple are at interesting angles. This design of this is cool. This is very cool. So he gives you some pizzazz. Like that these are shorter buildings. Not everything is just these, you know, again, just rectangles with like windows sort of put in. There's some thought that went into these buildings and quite nice. I like there's people waving to Spider-Man over here. And maybe someone knocked out. These could be cops. Let's see. I don't know. It looks like they're guys with like bats or something like that. But there's a guy right here that looks like he's knocked out. Maybe in the story it tells what this is. It's kind of cool. Some pencils. I thought that was kind of neat. I think I have an inked or colored version of this. Some Sequential Ultimate Spider-Man. I believe this is Stuart. I apologize if it's not. It came up in the search and it looked nice and it was pencils, so I kind of grabbed it. Kind of feels like his stuff and kind of doesn't. It's weird. The Spider-Man feels a little thinner than his, but some of this feels like his stuff. It's a little hard for me to tell on this one. These are nice. I didn't know that he had done Star Wars. I'm definitely going to check these out because this is some great, great stuff. Oh man, I can't wait to see these issues. God, he's so good. This gesture right here is so casual, but so good. The turn of the hip of the hip, the hip, the hip, the ladies flip. All right, we've got two brutes. I think that's the thing. I don't know who this is. Is this Scar? And then we got Thor. Or as I call him, T-Whore. No. T-Whore. Go, go, go. You gotta fight these guys. Cool cape. Caping it up. This is nice. This panel is great. Some really cool architecture. Again, he's creative. He keeps it simple, but where he spends his budget, and the budget in comic art for pencilers generally is time. How much time do you have to do a piece? Instead of putting a lot of brainless detail and just filling up a boring shot with a lot of stuff, he picks something that's more interesting, has an interesting design, and spends his time creating something that's a little kind of cooler looking, a little different, something beyond what maybe a generic, your first generic idea might be. He may have used reference for this. This could be based on a real airport and even a real photo, but he picked something cool. This is nice too. Feels like contemporary architecture. So it's cool. This is nice. Oh yeah, I love this shot. It's funny. I grabbed this just because, and I actually read this comic because this was some of the stuff I was studying. And I would like, there's always, not always, but a lot of comics have the team going to the hangar because they're about to do some crazy stuff. And I thought, even though this is they're further away and they're small, man, with the colors and stuff like that, man, what a beautiful panel. It's really, really cool. Very classic comic book vibe to me. It's just like, again, it's I'm gonna, after I do this video, I have to do some Patreon lessons and reviews. I'm helping people get better at their art, but I'm also learning at the same time while I'm drawing comics. But when you're first learning to draw, these aren't the ideas that you're going to come up with. If your script says like the 4 characters walk to the airplane hangar, you're generally going to think of something kind of generic and a little bit boring. But he picks this sort of like, we're right on the ground, like basically like a worm's eye level, but not worm's eye looking up. So he's got a very low horizon line, I guess, and it's just really clever. But he didn't really draw that much. Again, it's spending his budget on the idea and not so much on a complicated plane and airplane hangar with a bunch of rectangle, like this stuff everywhere, and you're rendering every rectangle. He came up with a cool shot that's probably a little more memorable and kind of cool looking. It's a real nice Storm too. I have to say, Storm is one of my favorite X-Men characters, and man, this looks great. It's really cool. Oh, this is so nice. Look at this stuff. Stuart is the man. Oh my gosh. I mean, I could have easily picked hundreds of images for this video. He has so much good stuff. But again, you can kind of see a little bit of the Adam Hughes, the way that he renders the cheeks and stuff like that. Brian Hitch kind of has a little bit of that going on too. These shadows on the faces. I don't generally put black on shadows on girls' faces. So unless it's a really, really extreme thing, I try to avoid too much of it. That said, I do use a lot of black. This is a great page too. Look at this. This shot right here is incredible. God, man. Seeing this today is really like blowing me away. It's giving me the feelings that it gave me like a year ago, which is, man, I need better ideas. Like, I need to be more clever with my shots, because it's like, this looks so good. But he's been drawing professionally for like 25 years, maybe 30. So, you have to give yourself time to have the experience and work through these stages of your development. This is great. God, that just looks so professional. No fuss, no muss. He just gets in there and does the job. Oh, that's cool too. Cap is not pleased. That's really, really neat. More of the team walking towards us. This is a nice Colossus, though, or whoever this is. He looks weird with, I don't know, has he got a mustache? Maybe these are like alternate versions of him or something. I don't really know. I don't remember. It's kind of weird mustache. He looks great there, though. Man, walking forward, that's a great gesture. I like the Panther thing, too. I want one of those. This is awesome. Great hands. Big chunky, like, knife blade. Like, this is really cool with him reacting. And the Sentinels look great. And this is really cool, too. He has really great architecture. It's like, I don't have it in here, but man, he's... Oh, this was the shot of Spider-Man. I thought this was a really interesting pose. It's different. Could see some people maybe not digging it, but I'm going to give him 5 stars for creativity, effort, and then execution, because it looks really, really cool. I like the position of the legs and the feet, and it seems doable. Spidey's about to twist and head a new direction, so he's, you know, ramping up to do some shit. But I like it. I like it, I like it, I like it. This will look great inked. Man, all these buildings will look super cool. Oh, here we go. And oh, that's it. Okay, there you go. So that's for Laz Novak. Thank you, Laz, for suggesting for Super Fun Sunday. Like I said, my job is to complete the task that I took on. So tomorrow we have the final one that I wasn't able to get to. I'll keep it a surprise, but if you were watching the videos, you might have seen the folders. So anyway, but all right, you guys have a great day. That was Stuart Immonen, the man. I'll have links to Stuart in my description box so you can follow Stuart, and definitely do if you don't, and get some of his comic books because he is amazing. All right, what is there any information? Friday, I have a new live show coming up. Right now, the tentative title is 3 Jerks, and it's a show about nothing. No, it's not a show about nothing. It's about independent comics. The history of independent comics, you know, Rebel comics, just all that fun stuff of like the stuff that was always on the fringe, and then how independent comics and self-publishing in the 80s turned into a different thing with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Cerebus, and in the 90s it had its own thing with Image Comics. It should be really, really interesting series of live shows. So it's Fridays from 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 10 Eastern, till 8 or 11 if you're on the East Coast. And if you're in Europe, you can adjust accordingly. But yeah, I wanted to do a new show. I've always been fascinated by independent comics and self-publishing and fanzines and all that kind of stuff, and I wanted to learn about it. And so I've got James Windsor Smith and Jerk Comics, who's got a great YouTube channel. And yesterday it just came to me in a flash of brilliant light, where I went like, I should do a show with those guys and pick their brains about all this stuff that I want to learn about. And it'll kick me in the ass to learn about it on my own as well, to contribute to the show. So it's all win. And then every show will also spotlight a little bit of art from a favorite artist that hopefully will kind of keep in line with the theme. I think this first one is on the fence, but it's still a good choice. But I'll leave it as a surprise. But it's a really, really great artist. So, okay, you guys have a great day. Make sure to sign up for the Blaster Kid pre-launch, and I will be back tomorrow with another video. I'll talk to you later. Bye.